And we are live. Hello, guys. Oh, let me see. Welcome to Jason Hebert Live. I believe that we are live, but not on Facebook, is what it's telling me here. Sorry, guys. This we are a YouTube show, and I recently have started broadcasting to Facebook and Twitter on top of it. So when I just hit go live, I got an error message I'm not used to, and hopefully, let me see. Can you guys see me here on the chat? Please say yes if you can see me. Okay, it looks like we got about 30 people coming in. Okay, Sandra says hello. So it looks like we get right now there's only about 30 people or so. So I think the notifications are still going out. Let's give it a moment. Thank you, everyone. So just to give you, I had little tech issues earlier, but I also was very, very sick. So I hope my performance tonight is good. I'm kind of mentally foggy and a little out of it today. So I'm trying my best. Thank you so much for bearing with me. And we have, okay, we get 80 people in here now. Okay, so notifications are going out. So hopefully I do give you guys a good performance tonight because, like I said, I am like violently ill. But if I don't, we have, even though he's muted right now, so he might want to unmute, but we have a co-host that you guys all know from the show, but he's never co-hosted before. He's more so kind of lurked in the shadows or helped out with tech stuff or the chat and everything. But we have our good friend, you may know him as One Up, but his name is Jared. What's up, man? I think I still can't hear you, Jared. Yeah, it's not muted. Oh, there you go. I heard a static, but still can't hear you. I heard you earlier, though. I don't know. Did something change? If you want to give it a moment, because we can't hear you. Give it one sec, guys. Sorry, what a night, guys. We got all kinds of tech issues, mostly on my end. And like I said, I am a little sick, so please bear with me. Jared, still haven't been able to hear you. So I'm gonna, if you want to take a moment, see maybe if you unplug the headphones, maybe we'll be able to get you. Typically, oh, that works. I hear you. I hear you right now. So
can you hear?
If you want to keep it? Yeah, you sound good. Say something again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone? And we got about 100 people here, so we get the notifications finally going out. So if you want to take a moment to kind of tell them who you are, what you do, how you got into what we do here, or anything like that.
Hey, everybody. My name's Jared. Most of you guys know me as One Up. I got into helping people because my cousin had came out missing at one point. So I just enjoy helping people.
Yeah, and kind of similar to Grotto, I'm the one on screen, so you guys kind of hear me, see my name and everything, but there are people that deserve just as much, if not much more credit than me. Grotto is one, and Jared is one, because they're always doing stuff for everyone behind the scenes. So I try to make it as much of a point as I can to let you guys know that this is not a one-man operation by any means. Jared is absolutely awesome. So if you have been helped by this channel, it's a good chance that both he and Grotto are behind it. So I just want to thank you, Jared. You're the man. And even when it takes me a while to respond, he's right there and on top of things. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem, bro. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry, guys, to kind of go over the channel stuff. I know the reason that you're here, and Lone Wolf says, thanks, Jared. The reason that you guys are here is to kind of find out about the case. That's the important thing. Tonight's subject is At.Gosden. We have his father, Kevin Gosden. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull it from Wikipedia versus writing. I wasn't able to write the script today because of all the tech issues and everything going on. So I'm going to pull from the Wikipedia page and go over some of the basics. If there is any error, Kevin had told me that he's okay with me doing that, but if there is any errors, he can go and correct us. But let's first just say hello. We have quite a few people coming in. Thank you, guys. I guess going out to Twitch and YouTube and Facebook is paying off because we got more people than we typically would 4 minutes in. So hello to Kubi check, Karen, Joel, Joy, Watcher. We got Chris in here. We got well over 100 people, so I won't be able to say hello to everybody. Sarah, Persephone, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. But let's get to why we're here today, which is, if you're not familiar with the show, what we do is we interview typically the family, sometimes the friends, but either way, some loved ones of missing persons. We do that in an attempt to help spread awareness and help get these stories out there in an attempt to bring them home. So if you are into helping do that, as you can see, the show is interactive. That's kind of one of the unique things about this one, we have a live chat. So not only can you get the story directly from the horse's mouth, but you actually can ask questions and we'll put them on the screen and the guests will answer them directly. So it's a really cool way of doing things. So if you are into that, please set the notification bell to all and make sure to subscribe. And then every time we are about to go live, you will get the notification. So let me go over some quick details of the case. We'll show a couple of pictures and then we will bring on Andrew's father, Kevin, to give us kind of the meat of the story and get into the details of it. So I'm going to, if you look it up, Andrew Gosden, Gosden, if you want to read along or just keep an eye on it. I'm going to his Wikipedia page again, and I'm going to read from there under the section. It's about a quarter of the way down. That says day of disappearance, if you want to follow along. But on the morning of his disappearance, Andrew had difficulty waking up and seemed particularly irritable. His mother has stated that this was unusual and as he was normally awake on time. At 8:05 a.m., Andrew left his house and was witnessed walking across the local park, which is Westfield, to his usual bus stop by family friend Reverend Alan Murray, who was sitting on a bench in the park. Instead of taking the school bus, Gosden diverted from his usual route and walked to a cash machine at a local garage. Here he withdrew £200 from his bank account, which was almost all of his money. He had £214 in the account, but the ATM would only allow withdrawals of £20 notes. As many of you are probably familiar, it's very common, of course. He was then captured on a neighbor's CCTV system returning home. At home, he placed his uniform in the washing machine and the blazer in the back of his chair. He then changed his casual clothes, consisting of a black Slipknot T-shirt. That's a band if you're not familiar. Slipknot T-shirt and black jeans, and took a bag embellished with various patches of rock and metal bands. He also took his wallet, keys, and a PlayStation Portable console. That is a little video game handheld thing similar to like a Game Boy if you're like me and a little bit older. Jared probably knows a lot more about that than me. You into gaming, Jared? I think you said you were, right? Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, so that's something that people who are into gaming would be very familiar with. He also took his, I already said that. No other possessions were identified as missing. It was quickly established that he had not taken his passport with him. Andrew's father stated that his son did not appear to have taken a sweatshirt or a coat with him either, and had also not taken the charger for his PlayStation Portable, which is unusual. If you play that, I'm sure Jared can confirm that if you're using it, they go pretty quick. They drain the battery. So someone who uses that would take that with them pretty much constantly, right, Jared?
I agree. Definitely. They die really fast.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're playing consistently. Even if you're not, they're powerful machines. So. But Andrew's father stated he did not appear to have taken a sweatshirt or coat with him and had also not taken the charger for his PSP. Gosden also left around £100 in cash that he had saved up from birthdays. So at 8:30, he departed from the house and was seen heading down to Littlemoor Lane towards Westfield Park on a neighbor's CCTV. He then walked to Doncaster railway station, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, and purchased a one-way ticket to London. The ticket seller later recalled that she had told him that a return ticket cost just £50 or £1 more, but he insisted on purchasing a single ticket. Almost done here, guys. And then we'll bring on Kevin. At 9:35, Gosden was witnessed boarding the train to King's Cross Station alone. One woman was reported sitting next to him, whom she described as being quiet and engrossed in playing his video game console. When Gosden failed to attend morning lessons at his school, his teachers tried to contact his parents. This would, I believe, be the next morning. And so the school believed that they had called his parents and left a message informing them that he had not attended school. However, the school dialed the number of the parents and left a message informing them that he had not attended the school. Sorry, it's a little confusing wording there, guys. However, Yeah, it says, however, it kind of repeats itself. Sorry. The school dialed the number of the parents either above or below. Okay. So they thought they called the family, it looks like, but they called the number above or below, making a mistake in the register. And the message was left for the wrong person. Okay. So I guess Kevin will get into that. That sounds like a nightmare. So at 11:20, Gosden arrived at King's Cross Station and was captured on CCTV, leaving the main entrance of the station at 11:25 a.m. This was the last confirmed sighting of him. So I'm going to bring on Kevin. And like I said, guys, when you do a live show here, sometimes you have to deal with a little trouble. So I am not feeling well. So once I bring him on and introduce Kevin, I will step away for a moment. And Jared, I'm going to have you kind of ask the first couple of questions because I am feeling like I might need to step away for a couple of minutes since I'm not feeling well. So Kevin, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I couldn't even imagine what you're going through. I do want you to know that you have the support of myself, of course, Jared, and everybody in our little community and team here. We're going to do everything we can for you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Do you, like I said, I will step away for just a moment and let Jared take over before for a few minutes, but do you want to start? Maybe tell us a little bit about Andrew, and then we went over some of it, but do you want to lead us into the events leading up to his disappearance?
Sure, yeah. Well, Andrew was or is very academically bright, quite gifted in that sense. He was quite a deep thinker, really good at stuff like maths and so on. He had quite a wicked sense of humour and was very good at impersonating various comedians and stuff as well, actually. And he wasn't a difficult kid ever at any age. He was always just really easy to be around and deal with. You know, loads of people grumble about the kids making life difficult. And I mean, we just never had that with Andrew or with his sister, Charlotte, who's 2 years older. They were just such a pleasure to have around the whole time. I mean, I'd say Andrew was quite a quiet character. He'd tend to have like a few close friends rather than a big group of acquaintances. He'd be kind of thinking about stuff a lot, not necessarily talking, but then when he did say something, it tended to be worth listening to because he was quite a deep thinker. And I think, you know, he certainly showed awareness and was caring about other people as well. You know, and in a way, it's really one of the reasons it's most completely baffling is that we just have no idea why he would have wanted to go anywhere or disappear. If anything, we would have said he quite liked his home comforts. You know, he certainly never gave any sign that he wasn't well, for example, or that anything bad was going on at school that we didn't know about, or, you know, there was absolutely no clue or sign that he would just one day walk out the front door and apparently manage to disappear off the face of the earth. And I mean, I know that things like Reddit in particular have a lot of discussion threads on there. And people speculate about, well, might he have done this? Might he have been thinking that? Could such and such have happened? And to be honest, I tend to just avoid looking at them because, in a sense, it's all the same stuff that has gone through our own heads. And it's like a torture to keep trying to sort of think, well, you know, we just don't know. He left not one single clue. You know, there was no trace that he'd communicated with anybody in any way before he vanished. no sign that he was unhappy with anything. And I know that a lot of the stuff on discussion threads trying to speculate as to what might have been going on in a 14-year-old's head is 99% of it is stuff that we've wondered ourselves and thought, well, what on earth could possibly have been, caused you to do that? Because we just have no idea.
Oh, sorry, guys, I was muted. Sorry for missing the beginning there. Obviously, I am familiar with the basic details also, but hopefully that helped catch the audience up. So yeah, 14 years old. Wow, this one is just an absolute shame. For anybody not familiar, this was in September 2007. So it's been quite a while. Jared, so I know you've also looked into it as well. So what are your feelings, or where are you leaning as to what you've read so far, Jared? I'd like to get since he went over some of the basics and I wasn't around for where everyone stands. Obviously, we don't know, but what do you think is most likely? Where are we with that?
From everything I've read, I mean, it seems like he was going somewhere and I don't know, the way I've read everything, the type of person like you just explained he was, especially being like not like to be around a lot of people. I feel like because if he got the ticket, like I feel like maybe somebody had a ride set up with him or a way for him to get back. Because it's just weird to me that he would buy a one-way ticket. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I also
Absolutely.
Although
brought up on.
Sorry. I mean, a lot of people say that, but that actually initially didn't seem so odd to us. Because, and again, this might explain why he didn't take his PSP charger. A lot of my family and friends live in London, basically. So, I mean, initially, I guess we figured he'd just... there's one thing I want to do. It's a school day, so mum and dad aren't going to go, off you go, son, with our blessing. We'd have gone, well, you should be in school. But it's not unreasonable to have thought that he would think, well, that's going to make them pretty upset. So the way to handle it is to go do whatever it is I want to do. And then I can just end up like at my grandparents or my uncles or my aunts. Or he had choices of places that he could easily navigate his way to and just think, well, it gives them a night or two to calm down and then we can figure out how to get back, And so it actually isn't as ridiculous as it seems at face value. It might just be that, he thought, I want to do one thing, I'm going to go do it and end up somewhere where I can let them calm down before I face the music, So.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So we kind of went over what he, the events leading up to it. Do you want to go over, expand on what he had going into his life? And I'll put a comment from the chat into it. Chris says most people on the internet say he was groomed by someone online. So taking that comment, I don't know if you wanted to respond to that and kind of tell us what you do know he had going on. What were he and his friends into? I mean, obviously he was pretty young, but where are you going with that? Did he have any? Was he talking to anyone as far as dating? How was his life in that sense?
No, if Andrew, I would say, was in pretty much a quiet phase at that point. I must admit, I remember saying to my wife, like, well, give him a year, he'll notice girls and we'll not see him for dust. But he was very much a home bird. On the grooming thing, his opportunities were slim. We'd actually only had the internet in the house for like about 8 weeks, 2 or 3 of which he was away for.
Okay.
And it was his sister's laptop. So he kind of had quite limited opportunities there. He never even got around to making an email address or anything. And there's no trace of him ever having social media accounts of any sort. You know, nothing ever came up from computer searches, home, local library, at school, or anything. You know, there were no traces of communication there. So it's pretty hard to see how, you know, how he would have accomplished that, really, because his opportunities were limited. And to be honest, I mean, a bit like me, really. I mean, I don't really have much interest in social media and knowing what somebody had for their breakfast on Facebook.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
And he was kind of like that. He would be more likely to value a live, real relationship than kind of meaningless chatter on Twitter or whatever.
Okay. And someone says, so this kind of would go along with that. So he wasn't big on all that online stuff. I agree, you know, what people's food looks like, stuff like that. But Blakeamon, £1 says, I believe he had 100% attendance record at school before skipping that day.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's true. Yeah, never missed a day. He was never even off sick for one day. Yeah.
Louise Haraway makes a comment. From day one, everything has gone wrong. Louise is from the UK as well. She's actually, by the way, the one who told me about your case. So I'd like to give her a little bit of credit for helping put this together and
Thanks,
get
Louise.
Yeah, fellow UKer. And she says, so she's very into the case, of course, and trying to help. And she says, from day one, everything has gone wrong. The CCTV of Andrew, the police not following up on leads, the school ringing the wrong number, as we talked about earlier, the person who went to the police station clearing off, no phone. So that's a shame if all that is true.
Yeah. Well, Andrew didn't have a mobile phone at the time. He'd had one. I can't remember if he broke it or lost it or what. So he said, well, you know, do you want another one? And he said, well, to be honest, I don't really use it much. I'm not bothered. And as I say, he was in a bit of a kind of a quiet phase anyway. So we just thought, well, okay, then, you know, we survived without mobile phones when we were 14 and, you know, that's your choice. So he didn't have one at the time. We've never had issues with this. It's just so easy to see how hassled secretarial staff at a school would simply, you know, looking across a list. Okay. It's just so easy, isn't it, to dial the number above or below in a long list of hundreds of kids' names. So that, you know, we certainly wouldn't blame anybody for making that mistake. And to be honest, even if we had had that call, we wouldn't have, at that point, have known where to begin looking. Okay. So I've forgotten now what the other parts of those questions were. There were 3 or 4 questions.
Yeah, she was more so just kind of saying a lot. They dropped the ball kind of thing. But this kind of, the ball was dropped there. It looks like Ellie makes a good point. Jared, do you want to go over Ellie's comment on the screen? And maybe Kevin wants to go into that because that seems like one of the few places we could take this.
CCTV. That was one of the things that was looked in.
Oh, okay. If you want to address that
was mentioned, sorry. I'll come on to the next one. CCTV turned out to be effectively the only concrete clue that we might have had. Now, they said at the time, the area in and around King's Cross Station was the most heavily covered area in the entire UK, possibly the world, bristling with CCTV. We were told that all the cameras in the street were either not working or facing the wrong way or something. And we we couldn't really understand why they were trying to get the CCTV of him leaving King's Cross Station, because he, you know, we very quickly found out that, sorry, I'm seeing the screen going, it's distracting me.
Oh, do you want me to not show the pictures as you go over?
No, that's okay. That's okay. But we very quickly found out that from witnesses, that, like the lady that sat with him on the train and so on, so they knew that he was on platform whatever at 11:37 a.m. and so what's the point of retrieving CCTV from there? Knowing Andrew, he would most likely have come through the station, looked around for the tube station entrance and gone on to the underground system. But that CCTV was never even requested. So that was just very, 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 very frustrating for us, and still is to this day. You know, I still guess that if they'd even just looked at the CCTV station, tube station entrance, they may have been able to track him through to a platform and train from there, because that's the most likely method he would have used to get around London. But it wasn't requested. We couldn't request it. And it took, most CCTV is wiped over 14 to 28 days. It took 27 days to find the CCTV of him coming out of the station, where we knew he was from witnesses. And something that it seemed difficult to explain at the time, because police forces are so divided up in the UK, it was really hard to get through the concept that King's Cross Station is a massive transport interchange. It's not a destination probably in itself.
Jared, if you want to go.
You know, so basically the trail went cold right at the beginning. And because there were no other clues that could be found our end, if you like, there was just nothing else to look at. I can see Ellie's question there about the gifted and talented youth program. It's no longer in existence. At the time, it was a program run by the government to encourage very academically able kids and stretch them a bit. Both Andrew and his sister Charlotte were part of that program. So they had things like, you know, they'd have opportunities to attend university lectures on various topics. And they went together in 2000 and, let me get this right, 2006. So over a year before he actually went missing. They both went different courses, but to Lancaster University on a summer school. Andrew did one on microbiology, I think. But the answer to that question is yes, that was looked into in quite some detail. They were able to get whole lists of, you know, all the staff, all the other students who.
And to be clear, when you say it was looked into, you're talking about the gifted program that I was asking Jared about.
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
Yeah. You know, the police, you know, went through everybody pretty much. I think that was there, and that Andrew could have had contact with. But it, you know, as I say again, that summer school week was 2006, over a year before he went missing. So it's hard to see a really obvious direct link there.
Okay. Kate, and I'll let Jared. I know he probably has a couple questions as well, so I want to make sure we round everything out and everyone gets their input in. But we'll let Jared get a question in as well. Before we do, Kate Turner says, I'm from the UK as well. I'm wondering if he planned to go because he may have misunderstood and didn't realize how much he was loved. Teenagers can go through such turmoil at that age. So how do you feel about that? And I agree as far as just from nothing particular to Andrew, but just from a general standpoint, I think that is an age where you're trying to find yourself. You're trying to figure out, how everyone does. What were things from what I've read, everything was okay at home. Were there anything from if you put yourself in a teenage brain that he might have thought, other than the general stuff that goes on with teenagers?
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense to me. I mean, I think, when I think of myself at the same age, I think, I had those moments when you just think, oh, stuff this, it's got to be better somewhere else or whatever. And I actually think probably a lot of people at various times in their life, not just in their teens, but I mean, say an adult with a lot of financial pressures, you can just get stressed or feel that the grass is greener on the other side, or just think, I just want to, do you know what? I'm just fed up with this. I just want to get away, reinvent myself, start over, whatever. I mean,
way of putting it, reinvent yourself. Yeah, I've done that plenty of times in my life.
I mean, all I can say is there's just there was no sign that Andrew was thinking anything of the sort. But the question is, how do you really know what's ever going on in anybody's head? Okay. And you don't. You can only speculate.
Absolutely. Jared, so like I said, I'm not sure if you have any specific questions or how you wanted to approach it, but what I'll do is if you have if you have a question you'd like to get out, you could do that now. If not, I'll put one on the screen as kind of a backup, but I want to make sure you get your questions in as well.
Okay. The only question I had was, and I read online, I wanted to verify it with you. It said that he had stopped, he didn't want to be in the Boy Scouts anymore, and that he was like wanting to dye his hair and change his look. I just wanted to know if that was actually true, because I didn't know if people were putting out false information or not.
No,
I guess
he
that
had.
could show.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of over the course of that year, this is what I'm saying, like he seemed to be having a quiet year. He stopped going to Scouts because he kind of said, like, I really love doing the camp and stuff, but I'm not so keen on the weekly meetings. And, that sounded plausible enough to us. He was growing his hair out, he said. And, I mean, it might not be unfair to say that he was, changing the way he looked and thought about himself, as you do in your teens. But that wasn't something we worried about or were concerned about. In fact, my wife would be more likely to shop for the right sort of clothing for him, to be honest. We weren't the sort of family that would go, oh, you can't go out looking like that. He seemed, he seemed like, I'm having a bit of a quiet, perhaps I want to change things as part of maturing sort of phase. But, you just sort of figure, well, everybody does that. You give them the space to do it, encourage them. And, and I guess Charlotte, our daughter, she kind of went through that when she was 13.
How many, is that his only sibling, Andrew?
That's right. She's 2 years older than Andrew. Okay. For us parents, when she was 13 was the only year we didn't really get on with her all that well. she was like, black was white. It was one of those years.
Yeah.
And she suddenly kind of reinvented herself into this romantic goth type look. And was like normal again and nice and lovely. And it's like great.
Is that her there?
So, and I think, that's just part of growing up, isn't it? It's part of maturing and finding yourself. And we always just kind of accepted that and loved them and got on with it.
Okay. So we have a question. Oh, let me get rid of from the chat from IXOFOC. It says, is Kevin aware that following a FOI, I think Freedom of Information request, I submitted to the BTP recently on September 14th, 07, an officer was approached by somebody claiming a robbery and sexual assault had taken place at the station?
Yes, I was aware of that. I've forgotten the handle he was using there, but yes, he sent it to me. And I shared that information request with our police liaison officer, who is brilliant, really, really good. And it's basically just a list of anything reported to the police in that area that day. But there was nothing there that seemed to relate to Andrew.
Okay. I didn't know if they were suggesting they thought it could maybe be Andrew or related in some way. So you have looked into it and you don't think it? No,
that was a separate case because the police officer looked into it.
Okay, they did.
And, checked up.
Was so I don't know if that would be relevant to ask. Let's hold off on that one. Just kind of looking real quick through some of these. Jordan Henley says, I often go to London and look out for Andrew. My heart goes out to you and your family so much. Everyone deserves a father like you that never gives up. God bless you. You have a lot of people. I'm kind of going through and looking for the questions, but you have a lot of people just giving you support. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to pick through and find the questions, of course.
Well, in that case, can I butt in a bit?
Absolutely.
And do my agenda here?
Sure. Yeah.
Because, we've searched and so we have just done everything that we can think of from the moment he went missing. We were out checking round his route to school that same night. And we've done with huge amounts of support from huge numbers of people and organizations who've been so kind and supportive to us. And we've never stopped looking and trying to keep people aware of Andrew. And although we still have no answer, I guess as a family, it's important to us. If there's any legacy from this, we would hope that Andrew going missing causes other people to think about this as an issue, to perhaps support in this country missing people. I guess it's MEC in the US for you guys. But to support those charities and organizations trying to help support families and obviously find missing kids, to have a lifeline there if they're upset about something and they want to talk it through, that it's a phone call away. And one of the things is that about half of kids in the UK, at least, that go missing find themselves abused in some way, sucked into drugs rings.
Can I, because I don't want to fall, I want to make sure, of course, you get everything out, but I want to also make sure the chat gets as much. So can I combine something with what you're saying here with the chat? Since you're saying that, because Wen asks, would it be possible that something happened at Boy Scouts? I think she means possibly something like that, or
no, we don't. No evidence of it whatsoever.
Okay.
No,
just wanted to check
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing, you go off missing and there's a real good chance you're going to end up homeless, hungry, abused physically through drugs rings, whatever. And you just really want to say to everybody, look, we've got no clue what was going on with Andrew in his head. No idea why he did it. But, get your local helpline numbers into your kids' phones and have the conversation. Like, if you're feeling like this, you don't want to talk to us because, it's just you're too close to me. I need to talk to somebody a bit out of the family, and use those numbers and call them and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. Nobody's going to blame you for feeling as you are or struggling with whatever problems you've got. They're just going to be there to try and help and support you and keep you out of danger and safe. And I just so wish that but to be honest, I wish things like helpline numbers for things like that were built into every single mobile phone ever sold in the world.
Right.
So it was just like there, and that people understood that they can get help and support and protect themselves in that way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Skywatcher for the support. We appreciate it. Jared, do you want to get a question in from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this wrong, I think it's Dia or Dia, about the CCTV footage, since we went over that a little?
Did they?
I'll have Jared read it, only because some people don't watch the video, they only listen, they drive and stuff, so it's good to have someone read it so that they know what's being spoken of, and then you can respond if that's okay.
Did the police only check CCTV footage at the time Andrew arrived to King's Cross? What about the night footage?
So far as I know, just the platform and him exiting the station, so far as I know. I don't think, to my knowledge, no further CCTV was recovered from that area at all.
Okay, I do read that one, Jared, because I didn't quite know what they meant by that, so I figured you might.
And I noticed another question popped up a little bit back about, was that, might Andrew have been depressed?
Mm-hmm.
And again, obviously, mental health issues is something we've thought about quite a lot, but he gave no sign of it. He just seemed his usual pretty cheerful, bouncy kind of self the whole time. So I think if he was struggling with something like that, he concealed it incredibly well. And I'm aware that there are one or two forms of mental health issue that can very much be going on in the background and then suddenly cause a big breakdown or of some kind. But all I can say is that he gave no signs. And I would say too that he and Charlotte were really close. They were best friends as much as brother and sister. And I really think if he'd been bothered about something, the one person he would have talked to about it would have been Charlotte. And he would know that he could say, look, don't tell mum and dad, and she wouldn't have done. But he never did. And that kind of surprises me because they got on so well. So I think if something had been bothering him, she's probably the first and only person he might have confided that in and discussed it with.
So to Lucas, he's saying that we didn't do as much research as we should have, and we're asking questions that are already known. I want to address the way I set up the show, guys, is The whole point of it is I'm just kind of a conduit for the public to ask questions they're not familiar with. So, Lucas, if we're asking questions you already know the answer to, we would love for you to ask one that is a little more relevant. That's kind of the whole point of the show. Is I do it. I figure we get 186 people in here right now. They're gonna be able to think of more than just me directly. So that's kind of the whole point of the show. So he's saying it's insulting that we didn't do. It's not that I didn't do research, Lucas. It's just that I try to make the public aware of everything. Not everyone knows everything, so I apologize to feel that way. I just said don't pick trolls. Okay. Well, if you if you feel that those are trolls asking those questions. If you have better ones, by all means, Lucas, I'll get them in. If you know enough to know all this, I'm assuming that you've asked too. Okay, well, I'll have to go back and see. I don't think that they're trolls. So some of them, I kind of weigh, like, is it something that Kevin wants to answer? Is it relevant? So this is a little tough to kind of go through and pick. Which ones, like Lone Wolf, I don't know if he would want to answer that. Some of them I don't know. For example, I don't know if it would be insulting. Like Lone Wolf asks, was he struggling with the sexual identity issue? We've had things like that. We ask people if he's struggling with depression.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about that because, again, it's, what we've done as parents is tried to, without any actual clues or evidence, is tried to speculate on what are the possible things that could cause somebody with a stable family excelling at school without making the slightest effort to do so. He was just that clever. And apparently, perfectly contented, happy life with a great future. What would make them suddenly do that? And yeah, I mean, a struggle with your sexual identity perhaps is one possibility that we have considered. I find it really easy to see how, if you're thinking, you're 14, you think, I think I'm gay. But it's just too excruciatingly embarrassing to kind of bring up with my parents because you're being 14 and whatever. We wouldn't have a problem with it. But it's just too embarrassing, isn't it? Do you see? I mean, I could get that. I can see how that's logical.
Right.
But there's no evidence of it. But it is one of, it's one of the many possibilities
sure.
We've looked at.
Yeah, I try to. Questions like that, I have to kind of weigh them. Is it worth it for the sake of thoroughness, or are you going to find it as something you don't want to answer? So I don't really know sometimes. So thank you for your openness.
Yeah. We don't, mind answering those in the sense that, I'm pretty much sure that we ourselves have thought through. Well, might have been enticed into drugs or something. Might have been struggling with his sexual identity, might this, might that, might the other. You go through them as logical possibilities of stuff that young people might be thinking, feeling, involved with, or whatever. But we've no evidence for any single one of them.
Right.
And there is the problem. What I really hate is to kind of keep answering those questions repeatedly to individuals and on threads.
Right.
Because it is like a torture. Because it's like, yeah, we thought about this, 13 years ago, and we keep wondering about these possibilities ever since. So when it keeps coming back at you, it's just like, oh, do you know what? I just don't want to say it again.
Right.
We're not stupid. We tried to think of everything.
Right. Stuff like that. And so I'll ask a question by Lucas since he's, he says that this is a good one. So we'll get one in by him. I'm sorry if I didn't see your two earlier, Lucas. But once we do, Kevin, if there's anything I myself or Jared didn't think to ask that you did want to talk about, by all means, you're not limited to what we think to ask you. If I want to make sure that you feel you got everything out and that you're happy with the information put. So we'll make sure that you have your suggestions as well. But Lucas says, great question, Annette. I'd like to know whether Kevin thinks it's possible Andrew had a phone they didn't know about. Thanks. And then, we'll answer that one.
Well, I don't know where he was hiding it. It's all you can say. I mean, it's, you know, so far as we know, he didn't have a phone, didn't have a mobile at all.
Okay.
So I mean, you know, I mean, if he did, he'd have to have concealed it quite carefully.
Yeah, at 14, that'd probably be kind of tough. I guess you never know, though, right? That's what. And IXO says, I recently came. Andrew's train was delayed by 20 minutes. Do you feel that could have any sort of meaning in terms of his disappearance?
Not that I can think of. He might have been a bit irritated if he was trying to get somewhere at a particular time. But I mean, past that, no, I don't think it makes any odds.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Hidden Existence asks, how old is Andrew? He was 14 at the time.
Actually, right. Yeah. Really good question there, because that does bring me to some bits that I would like to talk about. Have you got the age progressed images there?
Yes, I did pull. 1 second.
Yeah. So these age progressions.
One of them moves. Yeah.
Yeah. These are done to how Andrew would be believed to look age 25. He'd now be 27, in fact, so they were just done a couple of years ago. I mean, I guess one of the things is, I mean, we still regularly go through Andrew, is he alive? Is he dead? There's actually no concrete evidence either way, which is the tough thing to live with. So if he's alive, what would you look for? Because he is going to look different now, age 27, to when he was 14.
Right.
And you can only make guesses at things like, you know, he could have grown a beard, shaved his head, or dyed his hair green or something. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of possibilities that you can never account for with this sort of age progressed image.
Absolutely.
But, you know, that does give some impression. And it when we first saw them, they very much reminded us of other family members. And we thought, yeah, wow, that's really, can see the family likeness in that. So, but if Andrew was alive and well and just knocking around somewhere now, this could be somebody you know, but you don't know who he is and his background. So he might be quite sketchy about what his background is. And I mean, it's possible if he's tried to stay off radar and is okay that he perhaps doesn't have things like national insurance numbers for work purposes or bank account, driving license, that sort of official documentation. Couple of other things about Andrew. He was deaf in his left ear, but the hearing in his right ear was perfectly normal. So all that means is he couldn't do stereo. Yeah. So yeah. If you called to him from behind, he wouldn't know which way to turn to your voice. He would spin around in a circle and have to take a 360 to find out where the sound was coming from. See, it's the sort of thing you might just notice if you know somebody that, say, if you're walking along a street, they always stay with their right ear to you so they can hear you. But you wouldn't pick it up out of those contexts. The other thing about his right ear is that it's got, I think I sent you a picture of it as well, it's got a really unusual little double ridge shape on the top of it.
Is there something, sorry, real quick, a lot of movement all of a sudden? Is someone moving around?
It'll be in there somewhere. I sent you, there's a cropped image, Jason.
Okay, let me see, maybe
just of the ear.
There's a lot of interference all of a sudden. Is somebody moving around? Just want to make sure it doesn't. There's a moving. I don't know. Is it Jared or is it like a snapping and a? Does anyone else hear that?
Seems okay now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if.
Yeah.
Like we lost Jared. Maybe that was what it was. Let me try to pull up.
Yeah, because that double ridge on his right ear that's as unique as a fingerprint. So, if you identified that on an individual, you could be like 99.9% sure you were talking to our Andrew.
Right. Let me see. I must have. Oh, okay. There's a couple pictures here. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Looks like I didn't get them all. Sorry about that.
Could be my mistake. I may have forgotten to attach it.
Oh, no, you got it. It was me. Usually is. Hang on 1 second. And we lost Jared. He's back. Okay. 1 sec. Sorry, Jared. I think we lost you initially. Let me pull up the picture. Jared, can you take over for just a moment? Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, one other thing, quite importantly, that you could notice about Andrew is that he needs very strong, like +8 diopter prescription glasses or contact lenses. He's as blind as a bat without them. So again, it could be somebody that you know, work with, are married to, for all we know. But there's not many people with, like a +8 prescription on their specs. So it could be something, just one of those little details that you may pick up. There's one or two other little bits, like on Andrew's website, we've scanned like the most recent handwriting he ever did before he disappeared. Because handwriting, I'm told, tends not to change, basically, especially if you're writing quickly.
Yeah.
So again,
I just want to apologize for stepping off screen. We had already announced this to everyone in the chat. We had hundreds of people ready to go, and I felt very ill. So I'm very ill right now. I apologize for that. We couldn't cancel it because of how many people were waiting. Sorry to interrupt, but just so everyone, in case anyone says, why is he walking off camera? I'm so sorry.
But yeah, again, there is a sample of Andrew's last known handwriting there in case it's little clues, little potential clues, but they are all posted on his website, and can be looked at.
I can pull those up. I can go to his website if you want to look at those. And I have the ear too. Do you want me to pull up the handwriting on the website and I can show it? Is that what you're saying?
If you can, Jason, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Give me just a moment. So while I pull up the handwriting in the ear, is there anything that hasn't been discussed that maybe we're not up to date on or anything, Kevin, that you want to make sure gets out there while I pull everything out? Just want to make sure you're happy with the information that's presented and asked.
Yeah, honestly, I think, aside from Andrew and how tough it has been and still is, I just want to say, to people, to think about this as an issue. If you can support the charities, please support them. Oh, there's the ear. It never occurred to, like your kids grow up and when they're little, you teach them how to cross the road safely or not to touch the hot stove or whatever it is, and when they get older, you cover things like, well, how do you handle yourself if you're out on your own, or if somebody offers you drugs, or how do you handle alcohol, that sort of thing. And it never occurred to us to discuss the issue of missing.
Right.
Because in our minds, missing was like the really, really rare child abduction sort of scenario that goes on. That's a minute percentage of kids that go missing. That's really rare, but that's the one you see on the news because it's unusual and scary. And I really want to encourage everybody to think about it as an issue, discuss it as an issue with children and young people. Have a help phone number. I mean, in the UK, it's 116 000. That number for a missing people charity actually works across most of Europe. You could have a kid lost in Germany. They could ring that number. Somebody would speak English to them, and they could get help. And you just want to go. Don't put yourselves at risk. Don't get into talk about it before you walk out the door. Because so many problems can be sorted out and solved, and you can be helped with it.
And so IXO says, and sorry guys, I'm going to try. I know I've asked a few questions from a couple of people. I'll try to get to all of them. I saw someone saying that I'm not getting to all the questions. There's been a lot asked. I apologize, but they asked, what do you think about a man from Leominster who came forward a year later to a remote police station claiming to have information? Has that been looked at?
Yeah, what happened there was a guy called a very small, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? But just a small station that's only manned in the day, and not at night. By the time he left a message, by the time the police got back to him, he never made any further contact.
Okay.
So,
Sarah Dawson says they identified the man. He wrote into the BBC.
Did they find out exactly who he was?
Sarah, could you answer that?
I'm not aware that anybody.
That'd be good to know, huh?
I mean, I saw a letter that he wrote to the BBC. You're quite correct there, Sarah. But there was no address on it. And I don't think, I'm going back in my memory here, I could be off. I don't think he actually even signed it, not with a last name. So, it would have left the police in the position of, well, obviously they appealed for him to come forward again and share what information he thought he had. But at the end of the day, he didn't. And you think, well, who's to say that, it wasn't a case of mistaken identity or something of that sort, and it never would have turned out to be anything anyway. I mean, we'll just never know, unless that man, whoever it was. And
a lot of people have asked if you've hired a private investigator. Some people are asking just for information, and then there's also a lot of private investigators that come on the channel and say, "Hey, I can help out." So, just so you know.
No. The principal reason being, back to our number one problem, we've got no clues. So where does anybody start? We've been working through possibilities and theories and ideas and everything for years on end. But I mean, actually, you can't, there's nothing to point to any longer that you can say, well, here's a starting point. Here's someone to talk to. Here's, or we just haven't anything to offer anybody as a start point.
Right.
And I'm sure that, by now the police would have done it anyway. So no, we've not gone down that route because, once or twice I've had approaches from folks making documentaries with investigative reporting. And again, I've had to say the same thing and turn them down and say, I can't offer you anything because we've got no single clue.
Right.
That's
can you guys, we have hundreds of people here, guys, so I want to make sure I get to it. A couple of people have said that there's been a lot of questions that were excellent questions that weren't answered. Can you repost those? Because we're kind of start winding down, guys. We're over an hour now. So any questions that were asked previously that you feel like weren't answered that were really good ones, just go ahead and repeat them, please. I'm not purposely not asking any questions. I want to make sure we get them all in. And then while we wait for that to happen, would you like to? I typically do this, Kevin, towards the end of the show, where I feel it's really powerful. God, just in case he's watching, Andrew, and or somebody who knows something is watching, or something like that. Would you like to speak directly to him? And we'll kind of give you the floor and give you a couple minutes to get a direct message to him, to either him or someone who knows info.
Andrew, if you're out there, we've said the same thing since the day you disappeared, that we love you, we care about you, we miss you, and we just want to know you're okay. You don't necessarily, if you're out there, even have to get in touch with us. You could just let us know you're okay via Missing People. Hey, you could put a letter in a letterbox from anywhere in the UK and just put a couple of things on it that we both would remember but nobody else would know, to demonstrate it's you. And it would just be so much better to feel you were okay, because we've worried about you for over 13 years now.
And I just want you to know, Andrew, Kevin, you're doing an amazing job representing him. I know he's proud of you, and yeah, please, if anybody has obviously, Andrew, if you're out there, please come forward. Like he says, it's not about getting anyone in trouble. If you want, you're an adult by this point, right? So if you want to be want privacy, then you're entitled to that. It's just more about knowing he's safe, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think no matter what the situation, everyone deserves to know that. Every parent deserves to know at least that. Lone Wolf, great question. Let me see here. There's a question. People are saying there was a good question about DNA. If you guys can repeat the specific question. I only have time for about another couple questions, guys. And Jared, were you able to get? I only got a couple questions. Was there anything specifically that you wanted to ask, or did you want to read a couple from the chat that you thought were good? I just want to make sure that I don't talk over you too much, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Oh, here's the question. Do you want to ask that either your own, or if not, we have one from Lone Wolf on the screen there.
Yes. Yes is the answer.
Yeah,
the police have. Oh, sorry, I forgot to read the question, didn't I?
It's okay.
The question was, have we submitted mitochondrial DNA for comparison if Andrew, and you have to read into that, or his remains potentially are located? The answer is yes. The police do have our DNA samples, and they were fortunate enough to be able to get a DNA sample for Andrew himself from an old hair on the back of a dressing gown, I believe. So that is in place on, and you'll find that that's on like Interpol database and so on as well.
Okay, so that has been answered.
I'm sorry, guys. I really need a quick comfort break.
Okay, a comfort break?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to take a moment, that's fine. I can get a couple questions there. All right, yeah. Sorry, Jared. I don't know if there's anything. Did you have anything that wasn't you weren't able to ask yet, or I just want to make sure you're happy with. I don't want to talk about. Sometimes I feel like I maybe take over too much and don't let you guys get in all your questions. So I want to make sure you're happy with it. Can you hear me, Jared?
Oh yeah, I'm actually. Everybody asked all the questions I had.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we had a lot of someone asked about Andy Roop. Yeah, I think there's a slight delay. That's the issue. Yeah, there's a delay. There's like maybe 20, 30 seconds. What is the question, Elliot? Someone said ask the Andy Roop question of Andy Roop profile. I don't know what that means. Sarah Dawson, do you think Andrew may have actually left London to come home the same day and was?
Oh.
Yeah, he's already kind of answered CCTV stuff, Sarah, so I don't want to ask too much about that. Well, so I asked the same about good 5 questions by one person. I'm sorry.
Was somebody?
We have there's kind of a delay and some mic issues.
That said they needed $200 for rent because.
Sorry, man. We have a long delay. I'm not talking over you. What were you saying?
Oh, it's okay. But yeah, it was just a post, I guess. That somebody posted and said they needed $200 for rent because their boyfriend left him, and said he left home when he was young.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's what that was.
Whether police. Lucas asks Kevin, did police find any activity on Andrew's previous phone numbers?
Trying to think. I suspect that we might not even have remembered what his mobile number was when we did have a mobile.
Okay.
To be quite honest, we certainly. I honestly can't answer that 100%. I do remember going through all the phone calls from like our landline and so on, and checking every number against, was it somebody that we would have rung, or was it an unknown number to us? So certainly that was, as far as I know, it was checked as thoroughly as possible.
Okay. All right, guys. Let me see. Have you guys? Mr. Grotto asks, "Have you guys covered Rio O'Toole's question?" No. Can you repost, Grotto? Let me see if I can find it. We'll make that the last one, guys, because he just had to take a break, and we're going well over an hour here, so I don't want to keep him on too long. These are not only tough, but they're emotionally taxing for the family, so I try not to keep them on too long. So, Jared, if there's anything I also didn't get on your end, we'll make sure we get it in anything you wanted to mention or anything like that. But let me just wait to see what Grotto says. Lucas says, "Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate your answer, and love to you and the family." And Kevin, Lucas, hopefully I did my best for you, brother. I try to make everybody happy here. Sometimes there's a lot of questions asked, and I just kind of go through and pick whichever ones happen to be there as I scroll. Dark Vision, he can probably barely keep up with things right now. Grotto, what is it that you wanted to make sure I asked? We'll finish on Grotto. Okay, so Mr. Grotto, I think it's from Rio O'Toole, says, "Hi, Kevin. Just wondering what your thoughts are on Andrew walking home from school a few times instead of taking the bus in the time leading up to his disappearance."
Yeah, I think he just decided to walk home a couple of days. I mean, it didn't seem particularly odd to us. It was nice weather, sort of thing you might take into your head and just think, well, hey, I'll just do the walk instead. It just wasn't, I mean, typically would have got on the bus, but yeah, I mean, I guess, you sort of wonder, well, did he get bullied on the bus or something? And, the day before, but again, he never mentioned anything to anybody, so we don't know. He probably just decided to stretch his legs because it was nice weather, as far as we know.
Right. And so this one sounds like it could be promising, Kevin. A lot of people are talking about, well, first off, was Andrew's nickname was Rue as a kid?
Yeah.
So there is many people seem to be into this. A poster by the name of Andy Rue from Lincoln. I guess he was telling people he ran away from home at age 14. And let me see. A lot of people know this person or know of him. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
You are familiar with Andy Rue.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
This came about in an online chat that was sent on to us and the police have helped with and so on. And was sort of the most plausible possibility that Andrew might be alive to us that we'd come across in like a decade.
Okay.
Because we'd never happened to mention to any media that we tended to call him Rue as a nickname. Plus, how many online conversations are you going to have that run along the lines of, I ran away from home when I was 14. Oh, how come? Were there issues? No, I just felt like it. You know, it's like that's anyway. So we have done, and that was based in Lincoln, UK. We've spent an awful lot of time and effort with a lot of help from people from both our churches and stuff, leafleting around there, doing some media stuff, checking things like the local opticians and, you know, taxi companies, bus companies and so on, and raised a lot of awareness. Nothing since then has cropped up.
Okay.
Perhaps worth mentioning that there are some other people around online who use the handle Andy Roo. One guy had an absolute nightmare of a time a couple of years back because he's similar age and just got bombarded with stuff. So, you know, it's finding that handle in use doesn't necessarily mean that you've probably got our Andrew. You know, so try not to persecute people who happen to use the same handle, please, because I know this guy just had an awful time with it.
Yeah. Okay. So lastly, I keep saying it's going to be the last one. Sorry, guys. I guess someone's saying something about is it a PSP being tracked? Sorry, guys. I'm having trouble keeping up here. Yeah, there's a lot of questions, guys. So what I'll have you guys do is when we finish uploading here, Kevin, give it like an hour. So actually, give it like until the morning, about 8 hours or so, let's say. And there's a comment section on the bottom. People will ask more questions, assuming you have the time and you know, and it's a valid question and things like that. There will be quite a lot because a lot of people in chat. You know, there's probably been hundreds and hundreds of questions, so I've tried my best to pick through them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to answer any more, just keep an eye on the comments moving forward at the bottom of the video once it's uploaded, and you can, you know, and people will leave tips and stuff like that. So just keep an eye out. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Kevin, you did an amazing job for Andrew. I know he's proud of you, man. I pray he sees this and comes forward, says, "Hey, Dad, I'm okay." Or at the very least, someone says, "Hey, Andrew's here for whatever reason. He needs some space or whatever." Same with you, Jared. I think there's quite a delay. So I think it seems like it may be 20, 30 seconds at some point. So I don't know if you're getting this right now, but I just want to say you did an amazing job. So thank you for coming on and helping. But yeah, Kevin, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm very sick, guys. So and Kevin's emotionally taxing for him. So I will kind of end it there. Is there anything else you wanted to say to finish up, Kevin?
No, thank you likewise. And thanks to Grotto for sorting out the tech stuff the other day, because I never would have managed it.
It's both of us. Without him, I don't know what we'd do. So thank you. And hopefully, hey, as a result of this, if Andrew messages you, says, "Hey, Dad, I'm fine. I'm over here in wherever," and or you get some kind of update and you ever want to come back, or if there's anything else I can do further behind the scenes to help out, just let me know, Kevin. I'm always here for you.
Thanks very much.
All right, and thank you very much to everyone in the chat and to Jared. Everyone did amazing, so thank you so much. And people saying feel better, thank you. Oh, check out Be United Missing Persons, guys. They'll probably contact you too. Kevin, they do flyers, things like that. The links are below in the description. They're absolutely an amazing group for the missing, so please check them out, guys. They are wonderful. And all right, guys, everyone have a great night, and I will message you shortly. Thank you.